All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Essential Oil Vet member exclusive webinar for this month, which is Let's Talk About Parasites. I just took a shower because I just finished the slides for this one, and I'm like, I just really need a shower. After all that, so you guys might be ready for one after this, talking about all these bugs. Just a reminder, this is an exclusive webinar only for paying members. So please don't share this. Please don't, if you take screenshots, please have that for your own use. Don't share on social media. You can share this slide on social media if you want to take a picture really quick and tell everyone what you're doing. But try not to share the information since that is for paying members only. Before we get started, of course, for those of you that show up live, you have a chance to do a giveaway. And we have some awesome oils that are really, really good for parasite control, external parasite control, since we're getting into flea and tick season, at least in this half of the world. And so we're going to start off with a trio of oils, which is cedarwood. You guys have seen me use cedarwood a lot. Basil, which is a great repelling oil, and Terashield, the repellent blend that we have. We're also going to give this person a essential oil pet diffuser, a little kind of neon green fun color, which has some little ceramic little inserts that you put in there. That's what you put the oil on. So the little essential oil pet diffuser and cedarwood and basil and Terashield for someone who showed up on time, who would like this trio of oils to get you set up for the summer. Just let me know in the chat and we'll choose someone. Haley's going to choose someone for me. The person who's going to win is Suzanne Cowdle. So congratulations, Suzanne. Send me an email with your physical mailing address, not your email address, your physical mailing address, so I can mail those out to you. They'll probably go out next week when I have time. We were moving like 50 horses this weekend, so it's a little crazy around here. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about parasites. Here's our agenda. We're going to start with definitions and types of parasites. We're going to get into some prevention. And then we're going to talk about treatments that are available, some overall general recommendations, and then we'll have a little bit of time for questions at the end. For those of you that were a part of the Pet Summit's workshop this past weekend, we did cover this. We covered this and that, and we covered it a little bit more briefly than we're going to cover it tonight. So you guys are actually getting a little deeper dive than what we did in the workshop, which was a little bit more high surface. Some overlap though. So let's start with our definitions, and we're just going to talk about parasites. So what is a parasite? What is a parasite anyway? A parasite is an organism that has sustained contact with another organism to the detriment of the host organism. And we have internal parasites and external parasites, and external parasites live on the outside of the body. So when we're talking about animals, there are a lot of external parasites. This is usually what people are talking about when they're like, what essential oils can I use for fleas and ticks, right? Fleas and ticks are external parasites. We also have lice, mites, the things that cause mange, those are mites. Flies, there's so many flies and gnats and mosquitoes. These nasty critters often carry disease, and they may not be specific to the species of animal or humans. So like a mosquito can go bite a dog, and then it can go bite a human, and then it can go bite a horse, right? So they aren't really species specific, except for in the case of lice. Lice are very species specific. So internal parasites, on the other hand, live inside the body. These are things like worms or protozoan that live within the body of the host, typically occupying the digestive tract, but they can also migrate outside of that, like in the case of heartworm disease, And so other body cavities are living within the body, organs, blood, tissues, or cells. So we have intracellular parasites as well that can get inside actual cells, and those are a little bit harder to get rid of. So some common internal parasites that we deal with animals are heartworms, roundworms, which are nematodes, hookworms, whipworms, tapeworms, which are cestodes, pinworms, lungworms, stomach worms, which are barber poles, flukes, which are trematodes, and these guys like liver, that's the organ they like a lot of times. And then coccidia and giardia are both protozoas, protozoan that we can address with essential oils, actually. So let's talk about that. What does it look like when an animal has parasites? Oh my gosh, there are so many non-specific symptoms, like a variable appetite. Maybe sometimes they're really, really hungry, and sometimes they're like not hungry at all. It really depends. Itching. A lot of times we think of itching of animals as kind of like it could be allergies, or it could be like so many different things, right? But a lot of times it's parasites. It could be internal parasites or external parasites. Think about fleas biting or mosquito bites. Those are very, very itchy. Hot spots. So they could have a bug bite, and that often causes hot spots, especially here in Texas. Flea dirt. So you see little black specks in their fur. You might not actually see a flea, but sometimes you see flea dirt. It's either little black specks or little red specks. That's dried blood, basically. Anemia, so a little bit of anemia on the blood work, or maybe some pale gums if it's really bad. You actually see the parasite. So some parasites you can actually see with your eyes, like fleas and ticks, and sometimes worms in the feces and things like that. A dull hair coat. So if they're not shiny and beautiful and just like healthy and thriving, sometimes just like they just could look kind of meh, right? They're just kind of dingy looking. Dull hair coat is often a symptom of internal parasites, but it could be external parasites as well. Lethargy, scratching the ears or shaking the head. This could be mites, ear mites, especially with kitty cats, like scratching their ears a lot. That's often ear mites with cats. Liver disease, because there's liver parasites that are affecting the liver. Irritability, variable. I don't know if you guys have ever gotten bit by like fire ants or something, but you just do not want to be around that person for a few days until the pain goes away, because it's super miserable. So it's the same thing with animals. They just get kind of cranky. Variable appetite, like we said, colic in horses can happen, or other animals, difficulty maintaining or gaining weight. So they often lose weight, or they kind of get that pot-bellied appearance. And puppies and kittens, they look a little pot-bellied, but kind of you can see their ribs still. It's definitely a wormy kind of look. Diarrhea, bloody feces, difficulty breathing, or pneumonia, especially if the parasites have migrated into the lungs. Neurologic symptoms, stumbling. EPM in horses is caused by a protozoan, which is a parasite that has migrated into the spinal cord often, and sometimes even into the brain. Coughing is another symptom. So many symptoms, but like just because a dog's coughing doesn't mean they have parasites, right? So it's kind of non-specific, and in a lot of these cases, they could be multiple things. There could be multiple things that cause those symptoms, except for maybe actually seeing the parasite and flea dirt. Those are pretty specific to those things. So how do we even know? How do we know what we're dealing with? This is where your veterinarian comes in handy. We're pretty smart about bugs. So a physical exam by your veterinarian, a fecal exam is absolutely important. I really want to emphasize the fact that fecal exams are absolutely necessary to know what we're dealing with, and also to know if you even need to do anything. Sometimes we just give dewormers every month because, that's what we do and that's tradition, but those are toxic chemicals that we're putting into them, you guys. And so we want to limit the exposure to them. Sometimes they're very, very effective, and they're usually pretty safe. Well, we don't want to give them if the animal doesn't need it, right? So we want to do a fecal to make sure that that animal actually needs it. This is talking to you, horse people who give dewormer every 8 weeks, no matter what. Do a fecal, see if your horses even need it. So additional diagnostics if necessary, such as skin scrapings or blood work, depending on what exactly is going on. So how can we treat or prevent parasites naturally? Parasites come because well, if you live in Texas, it's just because it's Texas, right? The weather is a factor, but hygiene's a really good factor too. And good personal hygiene and good animal hygiene really makes an environment that's fairly unfriendly to parasites. A very healthy animal can actually fight off internal parasites, especially kind of on their own if they're super, super healthy. So the diet is also really important. We want to start with a species appropriate whole food diet, regardless of the species. So we're talking about kind of all species. If it's a chicken, we want to feed them kind of an omnivore diet. If it's a dog, they're facultative carnivores, so we want to feed them primarily meat, but they can have a few vegetables and fruits in there. Cats are obligate carnivores, so we want to make sure that they get meat and organ meat primarily. And then supporting that gut is super healthy. It's super helpful because a healthy gut is one that parasites don't really spend a lot of time in, because the body's own immune system is actually kind of going to fight those guys off a lot faster, which is why you'll see with litters of puppies, maybe the runt is the one who always gets the giardia and everybody else is healthy. It's just because that guy's little immune system isn't as robust as maybe his brothers and sisters. So digestive enzymes is super important, especially with our protozoans. The protozoans in the digestive tract really don't do well with digestive enzymes. It breaks them down too quickly. Probiotics, omega-3s, and a multivitamin. So if we're talking about dogs and cats, the new Vet Plus, feline or canine. If we're talking about horses, there's definitely prebiotics, probiotics, Smart Digest Ultra, Smart GI Ultra. Those digestive supplements are really, really good. Platinum Performance has a great one. And then adding in some B vitamins can be really, really helpful as well, especially for parasite control and prevention, or if there's an active infestation. We also want to support the immune system. So parasites are much more dangerous for animals with underlying conditions or an underdeveloped or compromised immune system. Think of like your senior animals or very, very young, kind of that runt of the litter, or they're on steroids. The steroids actually suppress the immune system. That's kind of what they do. So if they're on steroids, they're going to be more likely to be more susceptible to getting parasites. And there's a lot more examples of that. Animals with cancer have a compromised immune system, and so they are going to be more prone to getting it, that sort of thing. Obviously, we have essential oils. We're going to be talking about that a lot today. Herbal support. I love herbs. I love herbs and food as a way to prevent parasites naturally. And there's other additional supplementation. And so these are kind of like your food options. So apple cider vinegar, brewer's yeast for preventing fleas. A lot of people use pumpkin seeds, garlic. Remember, we can use a little bit of garlic with dogs. We just don't want to use like 50 cloves every meal kind of a thing. And that way people are like, garlic is toxic. It's only toxic in super high amounts. But a little bit actually is very helpful in making them a little less tasty for the biting type of insects. Colostrum, fermented vegetables. Some people use black cumin seeds. That's not my favorite, but it is in a lot of herbal preparations. Fruits and veggies that are high in fiber are really helpful as well. Carrots, cucumbers, greens like kale, spinach. A lot of people will use like spirulina, squash, fennel, pomegranate, all amazing. Some people use vegetable juice, thyme. Thyme is very, very well studied as an herb, but also as an essential oil. We're going to be talking about it a lot today. Parsley, bone broth, and diatomaceous earth isn't really like an herb or a food, but it is another kind of additional supplementation that you can do. I don't love giving diatomaceous earth internally. Some people do as like a natural detox. You can. I've seen a lot of animals get constipation pretty bad from it. So it's not one that I recommend on a regular basis. If you are giving the right amount and you're watching your animal, making sure they're not getting constipated, you're watching them like a hawk, it can be helpful, but it's not one that I generally recommend. I like these other, like feeding foods, whole foods, that are a little bit more parasite discouraging. I like that a little bit better. The other things you can do are things around your house, around your yard. You want to make the area less likely to have those insects and worms and other animals that carry those things. Make it not an area conducive to those things. So mowing the lawn, which helps prevent rodents. It also helps prevent snakes getting in your yard and all sorts of other things. Rodents carry fleas, rodents carry all kinds of diseases as well. So keeping that lawn nice and tidy is actually really, really beneficial at preventing parasites. There's also helpful insects. So like we have nematodes from Arbicoa Organics that are really great for getting rid of insects outside, and then fly predators for flies. I love fly predators, but you have to, be consistent about it and make sure it's kind of more of a preventive thing. You don't want to like get them when you already have a horrible infestation, because then they're fighting a losing battle, kind of, so to speak, but they'll still help either way. Planting plants around the home or the barn or the farm that are protective and repelling in nature. Things like lemon balm, catnip. Mosquitoes hate catnip. Lemongrass, rosemary, sage, basil, mint, any of the mints. Be a little bit careful with sage. You don't want like your dogs eating too much of it, but the rest of it, all these are totally safe to have in your yard and in your garden. Around the house to help naturally repel insects, and they smell amazing. So some people put garlic in their yard. This is really good. I love this anecdote because garlic, we talk about using garlic with vampires, right? It's like if there's vampires, they don't like garlic, right? And I think that kind of came about because a lot of blood-sucking insects don't like garlic. And so I think that, that translation, because vampires are blood sucking, maybe they don't like garlic too. But garlic in the yard is actually quite good for repelling blood sucking pests. Diatomaceous earth in the yard is amazing. So for those of you that are really looking to prevent in your yard, this helps kill all the bugs, any kind of critters in the yard. Just if you're dusting the yard, just make sure your pets aren't outside with you. Dogs and cats, if breathing in that dust as you're spreading it, and make sure, if I would wear a mask if I were you too. Those particles can be quite small and can actually settle in the lungs a little bit. So you want to just be a little bit careful with that. As far as oils go, preventing external parasites, our best friends are going to be cedarwood or TerraShield, which Suzanne just won. So TerraShields are a repellent blend or the outdoor blend. So the outdoor blend, which is the old recipe, some of you guys might have some of this laying around. I don't know, I think I might have like half of a bottle left, and I'm so sad because I really liked that recipe. But the ingredients of the old one are fractionated coconut oil, so it's already pre-diluted, ylang ylang, tamanu, Nootka wood, cedar wood, catnip, lemon eucalyptus, litsea, and vanilla, and arborvitae. So the highest they had, I think it was like a 1.5% of cedar wood and 1.5% of catnip in there, which were the most effective for like preventing. And it was really, really good as a mosquito repellent, which is what I primarily used it for. The new recipe is pretty potent, and it is quite effective as well. So TerraShield, the repellent blend, which is the recipe, the current recipe, is sesame seed oil. So instead of fractionated coconut oil, citronella, lemongrass, thyme, cedarwood, geranium, and peppermint. So those are pretty strong oils, and they actually list the percentages on the bottle, which I think is so good. The citronella and lemongrass being at 6%, you might actually want to dilute this a little bit for, dogs under 10 pounds or cats. I just do like a 50-50 because at that point we're at a 3% dilution, and that's probably fine, but you can dilute a little more there if you're really worried about it. These both come, or the old one came as a 15 milliliter glass oil bottle or a 30 milliliter plastic spray bottle. And everyone's like, oh, the oil is not diluted and the spray is diluted. That's not true at all. It's the exact same formulation in both, 100% the same dilution, same everything. One's just in a spray bottle. It's a little bit bigger. The other one's in a little glass, our typical 15 milliliter bottle like this one. So you can just put drops in or make up your own recipes or things like that. They are the same formulation. I will say that again, they are the same formulation because that is something that I get asked a lot. There's a lot of confusion about it just because of how, just because one's in a spray bottle, so they think that one's diluted and the other one's not, which is not true. Okay, so you use these as needed. 1 to 2 times a week is really all that's needed, unless you're in a really heavily affected area or the ticks just went through a big hatch or something like that. So this is usually all you need. So just applying it 1 to 2 times a week is usually all that you need. For cats, I really like cedarwood or, dilute your TerraShield to 1 to 2%. Fly spray recipe is for large animals, or you can even use this on dogs. 15 milliliter of TerraShield. So the whole bottle, just dump the whole bottle in there. I have half a cup of apple cider vinegar on here. You can use less. You can use like a tablespoon or 2 or a quarter cup. Half a cup of apple cider vinegar is very, very strong in the apple cider vinegar smelling department. So if you don't mind that smell, this is very effective this way. However, a lot of people get kind of offended at the apple cider vinegar smell. A lot of animals don't really love that smell. So if you want to cut it down just a little bit, especially if you're at like a barn where there's a lot of other boarders and things like that, we want them to like the smell of our oils. So you can drop that down and it still is quite effective. I usually put some kind of dispersant in there. You can use vegetable glycerin. That doesn't really disperse it throughout, but it helps a little. But I like to use a little bit of dish soap or a squirt of the On Guard cleaner concentrate, or you can use a little bit of Castile soap to disperse it out. So when you shake it up, the oil actually gets in there throughout the water. The other thing you can do is, instead of water and soap, is just top it off with an oil, like an avocado oil or something like that. Now this is going to be a little bit greasier. I actually like doing this with just the oil instead, because it actually helps when an animal's really sweaty. So if we're talking about like horses that are in work and things like that, it'll actually stick on them a little better and last a little longer with an oil base, a full oil base, or you can do half and half. You can kind of play with it and see what you like the best in your area. Okay, you guys can take a picture of this slide. So these are just graphics that I grabbed off the internet. So grab a picture if you want, or screenshot it. These are some proven oils that are effective for certain types of pests. So for ants and spiders, peppermint is number 1. You can also use spearmint. For bed bugs and lice, tea tree is number 1. And remember, we don't use that for small animals, but it is very effective for large animals. You really only need a 1 to 5% dilution, even in large animals, for tea tree. And for flies and ticks, we have lemongrass on here. Rosemary and peppermint are also very effective. Also for ticks, I really like geranium and turmeric. There's some great studies about that. For all the bugs, we use TerraShield. For beetles, arborvitae, peppermint, and thyme are all really good. And then mosquitoes, lemon, eucalyptus, citronella, lavender, and lemongrass are a little bit less effective, but lemon, eucalyptus, and citronella are quite good. And then for, let's see, we also have cockroaches on here. Eucalyptus and tea tree oil are effective against Cockroaches, cedar wood is pretty effective against those guys too. And then aphids, peppermint or spearmint, they don't like those. If you have aphids on your plants, that's not really for, small animals, but that's what the graphic says. So we're just going with it. And then I did some research on ticks and Lyme disease because it is a really big problem, especially for my friends up in Canada. And so I did some research. This is actually extensively studied. And I have a vested interest in this because my big sister, Teresa, she actually many years ago got her PhD, and her dissertation, what she studied was Borrelia burgdorferi, which is the spirochete, the bacteria that causes Lyme disease. And she was like out in the field combing mice for ticks, like doing the whole thing. So this is something that is a topic of conversation in my family, my super nerdy science family that I love. And so I just want to share this with you guys because it is something that we get asked about a lot. And I want you guys to be prepared to be able to have the answers for the people that ask. So there are some essential oils that are very effective at repelling the ticks that carry Lyme disease. Rosemary, lemongrass, cedarwood, peppermint, thyme, geranium, turmeric, and catnip are all effective. The three that I starred there, peppermint, geranium, and turmeric, I have found to be the most effective at repelling ticks, and sometimes even killing them. And this is because if we can keep the ticks off of the animals in the first place, we're not even going to have to worry about Lyme disease. So this is that we really, really want to repel these. Now, what happens if they actually get Lyme disease? Do we have anything for that? And the answer is yes. We have essential oils effective against Borrelia burgdorferi specifically. And those are oregano, thyme, cinnamon, clove are really strong oils, right? But laurel leaf cassia is super strong too. I don't really use that in small animals, but this is what the research says. Felicia and myrrh are both two that are very effective and also very gentle, and we can use those with animals too. So we typically will do some pretty heavy duty internal oils if they actually have Lyme infection. And since I am really big on research, I'm going to be sharing some research with you guys. And I know some of you don't care, and I know some of you are just like geeking out right now. So grab a picture of this if you're geeking out so that you can go look up these research articles. I believe I posted them in the group on Facebook as well. So definitely check that out. And if you can't find it, let me know. I'll make sure I repost it or something like that. So these are just a few of the many articles that are out there. This one right here on tick-borne disease in 2018. This is an article that actually is preventing tick attachment to dogs using essential oils is the name of the article. And I think I actually posted this full article in the group when it first came out a few years ago. But this one's really awesome because they actually use turmeric essential oil, and it showed extreme effectiveness at preventing tick attachment to dogs that were running through fields of known tick infested long grasses. And they had a control study and the essential oils on the animal study, and they counted the number of ticks, and it was pretty remarkable. I absolutely love it. Okay, mosquitoes we want to prevent because they spread diseases like heartworm disease, West Nile virus, like so many. There is a DIY mosquito spray. So in a 4-ounce spray bottle, if you or you could just use TerraShield. Remember, you can always just use TerraShield all the time with all these. But in a 4-ounce spray bottle, combine 20 drops each of lemon, eucalyptus, cedarwood, plus or minus peppermint, geranium, TerraShield, or citronella, or all of them if you want. Top off with a carrier oil or just water and shake it. If you use water, just be sure you shake it before every single use. If you have mosquitoes, be sure to eliminate any standing water and clean water troughs regularly. That means dumping water and dumping water bowls. That is considered standing water. That is where mosquitoes breed. It does not take long for them to breed and then become full-grown mosquitoes. Here's some of the research regarding mosquitoes. We have lavender. Well, this is from this article right here, the effectiveness of plant-based repellents against different mosquito species. And so we have lavender. There's a whole lot, right? The ones that we tend to use the most are lavender, catnip, geranium, lemongrass, lemon eucalyptus, cedarwood. I would say chamomile, probably. Sandalwood is also quite good. Rosemary, just be careful with seizure animals. Make sure you don't use rosemary with seizure animals. And then curcuma longa, which is turmeric. These all showed good repellency with 8 hours of complete repellency against different species, which is awesome. So a lot of mosquitoes are very susceptible to being repelled via essential oils. So here's the use of, this is another article, a use of essential oils in veterinary ectoparasite control, a review. Here's the article link right here on the bottom. But this particular one showed that for mites, a lot of oils were effective: thyme, clove, coriander, cinnamon, lavender, tea tree, citronella, and geranium. Just remember, we don't use tea tree with small animals. We don't use it with dogs and cats. But lavender and geranium are typically what I recommend, especially for ear mites and cats, and they are quite effective. For flies, they found peppermint, eucalyptus, catnip, and tea tree oil very effective. I like to use peppermint. Eucalyptus, I tend to use lemon eucalyptus instead. I just find it to be a little bit more effective. And I'm testing out 6 different fly sprays, new fly spray recipes for you guys. So far, the winner is just a combination of citronella and lemon eucalyptus, quite effective at fly spray repelling right now. So stay tuned on that. I'm going to give you guys a lot more information on that over the next coming month when we have 50 horses out here, and I'm going to be checking them every day. And then lice, this particular review found that tea tree at 1% was effective against lice. Lavender, peppermint also very effective. And tea tree and lavender together is probably really good. And then rosemary is another really good one for lice, although that was not in this particular review. So parasites, if we get them, how do we treat them? You always want to take a multimodal approach when it comes to parasites. Always include prevention, so that nutrition is the foundation of health still holds true. There is a really good parasite formula, herbal formula. So it's actually called Parasite Formula, and it's from Land of Havila Farm. And you just go to landofhavilafarm.com, look up their parasite formula. Make sure you get the species right, because they have a different one for equine than they do that doesn't have black walnut in it than they do for other species. And it's really good. My friend Christy came up with that formula, and it's people have been really, really happy with it. Traditional dewormers. I have a question mark here. I am not opposed to traditional dewormers. I am not one of those people that is just going to tell you, don't ever do anything with medicine. I'm an integrative veterinarian. I am a holistic veterinarian as well. So I like to treat the whole animal, but I don't think we should just be giving dewormers without checking the fecal. I think that's irresponsible. I think it's causing a lot of the resistance that we see in horses these days, and a lot of other things. So I think just from a scientific standpoint, we shouldn't treat if they don't need it. And but if they do, and those traditional dewormers are effective, they tend to stay primarily in the digestive tract unless you have a sensitive animal. So if you have, a border collie or something like that, be extra careful with those guys. And then as far as heartworm prevention, the prevention is way better than the treatment of the disease. Heartworm disease is deadly. It can be treated with herbs and oils. I've seen it a few times, and it's really fascinating actually. But heartworm prevention, the only way to 100% prevent heartworm disease, especially if you live in like Florida or Texas where there's mosquitoes year round, is to prevent mosquitoes from biting your dog or cat. Now, if you have a 100% indoor cat, do they need heartworm prevention? Probably not. If you have a dog that goes outside and gets bit by mosquitoes, we might need to consider some heartworm prevention. There's better stuff out there than others, but the other thing is that you can probably go every 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks for actually heartworm prevention, just based on the life cycle of the microfloria and heartworms in general. So just so you know, you can probably stretch it out a little bit more, doing every 6 months checkups, and then not giving heartworm prevention when there's no mosquitoes. So after the first freeze, all through winter, you do not need to give heartworm prevention. We only gave it about 5 months out of the year when I lived in Michigan. So ticks. Now ticks. What happens when you get a tick? How do you remove a tick? Oh, the controversy. Oh, you guys are going to see so many posts about this, and you're probably going to ask me about it 100 times. But you know, there's always that post of somebody with a peppermint bottle and then the tick on the skin, and they're like, they put the peppermint drop on there and the tick backed out. And then half of the people are like, that's amazing. And half of the people are like, oh my gosh, don't do that. It's going to vomit all the contents into the skin and you're definitely going to get Lyme disease 100%. So, you know, like the internet, there's everything, there's both extremes and everything in between. So the thing is, if a tick attaches, a lot of times you can't feel a tick attaching to you. And the reason for that is because they're secreting what's in their saliva and in their stomach into your skin to kind of numb it. And then and then they attach. So if they're already attached, they've already transferred whatever it is. And so just get the tick off however you want. The best way to do it is to use tweezers and pull straight up. Don't twist, don't, you know, whatever, don't do anything. Just like grab as close as you can to the skin and then pull straight up. They pop right off that way. It's pretty. I've taken hundreds and hundreds of ticks off of one animal. So I promise it's not hard. You guys can do it. I believe in you. You will then want to clean the area well. So you will be able to see where the tick attached. Sometimes there's a little, you know, dried blood, or there's like a little discoloration. That doesn't mean the head is stuck in there. It just means that that's where that was attached. And so then you'll want to put a drop of either Roman chamomile or lavender. I like to use On Guard straight on there. I don't care. I'm like, let's kill whatever it was that was in that tick. And put it straight on there. And I do not dilute. I do not dilute for that. It doesn't matter, even if it's a cat. So it's kind of a one-time deal. That's totally fine. As long as you're not doing that. Like, don't go crazy and like bathe your cat in tea tree oil or anything like that. This is what happens. This is where we get toxicity. But one drop is totally fine directly on that area. Keep an eye on that area. Watch for redness, swelling, any of those target lesions. What you do with the tick is you put it in a sealed container wrapped in tape, put it in alcohol, do something, make sure it doesn't crawl out. It'll act stunned sometimes and then wake up and crawl out. So make sure it's sealed, taped, like all the things, like dispose of it outside in a trash can outside so it doesn't crawl around and get reattached to one of your animals. Flush that sucker, Melissa says, absolutely. For fleas, if we get one, oops. Oh, let's do this one. Hold on. Where am I at? There we go. So since we're talking about tick bites, let's also talk about like just essential oils for bug bites in general. There's a lot of really good essential oils for bug bites. Lavender, Roman chamomile are my favorite. The reason being they're analgesic, they're very calming. Both of them are antihistamine, and a lot of times with bug bites, we're dealing with a histamine reaction, that redness and swelling. It helps take care of that. Basil, I love basil for bites. It kind of takes out the sting of like fire ant bites or bee stings or anything like that. It can really take out the itch as well, and it's antimicrobial and antioxidant. So it helps the body get rid of whatever it was that potentially that bug was carrying. But lavender for mosquito bites is like, it's chef's kiss. Lemongrass is antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory, so it can be used. Peppermint is very cooling. So if it's a red, itchy thing, sometimes peppermint can be very healthy and very nice. I like to use peppermint on like hives and that sort of thing, peppermint and lavender to cool things down. Make sure you dilute it, of course, with small animals. With horses, I'll just use it straight, but I'll usually dilute it with horses too. It's anti-itch, it's antibacterial, it's antioxidant. I love it. On Guard over bites, like especially ticks, or any kind of anything that you're like, oh my gosh, we could potentially have something bad going on. Go ahead. It's an antimicrobial, it's analgesic, it supports the immune system doing what the immune system is supposed to do. And so it's got a little bit of clove in there, so it kind of numbs it a little bit. And I really like that one as well. Tea tree, we're not going to use on our dogs and cats, but you can definitely use it on your large animals. It's anti-itch, it's antibacterial, it's anti-inflammatory. It's really good for wound healing and skin healing in general. And some other options we have are geranium, purify, magnolia, which you can use instead of lavender, manuka, petitgraine's another one you can use. So I just want to know in the chat, what essential oils are your favorites for bug bites, whether it's for yourself or your kids or your animals? Pop that in the chat. Let me know which ones are your favorites. For a flea infestation treatment, so if you do have fleas, everyone's like, lavender is my go-to. Lavender is, love it. So good. So good for bites. Absolutely. Just kind of like, I carry it around with me all the time because I'm like, just in case. All right. So flea infestation time. So if you have a flea infestation, and you might not like me calling it an infestation, but like if you see a flea hopping around in your animals, and especially if there's more than one, there's probably 20 more that you don't see. So regardless, you're going to want to treat your home. You can diffuse repelling oils like black pepper, oregano, peppermint, vacuum all your floors in every room multiple times a week, especially the dark areas, under furniture, move furniture, vacuum the furniture, under the cushions, immediately dispose of any vacuum bag or the contents if you don't have a bag in a trash can outside. Again, we don't want to put it in a trash can inside because they'll just hop out and reinfest everything. Do that at least a couple of times per week for 4 to 5 weeks because eggs hatch every 2.5 weeks or so. And then clean all your hard surfaces and floors with an essential oil cleaner. You can use the On Guard cleaner and purify, or I love the Abode products as well. They're super, super potent and contain some pretty strong oils that bugs don't like. Wash all the bedding, humans and animals, and blankets and the Afghans on the sofa and everything on the hottest setting possible. And if there's a lot of it, you might just want to go to a laundromat and wash everything all at once. You'll want to do this a couple times as you start to get rid of these fleas. Bathe all your pets with a natural flea and tick shampoo, or you can just use like an earth bath shampoo and add a couple of drops of cedarwood, lavender, citronella, whatever to your regular pet shampoo. You can dust with diatomaceous earth around your home, around the windows and doors. You can add cedarwood to it or Terra Shield, 20 drops per 1 cup of diatomaceous earth on the carpet. So you can do kind of like a carpet dust to let it sit there for like 2 hours and then vacuum it up. But you'll want to keep your pets off of it when it's sitting there because you don't want them to be walking around in there or breathing it in or anything like that. And you can go to diatomaceousearth.com for more information and tips on diatomaceous earth and how good it is to use at repelling insects and killing insects, actually. But it is a long kill. After they ingest it, it takes a couple of days for them to actually die. It does prevent reproduction and is very helpful in that. A dehumidifier you want to use in the summertime, especially if you live in a very humid area like Florida. Flea traps you can put around the house, and what that is, it's a shallow pan of water with a little bit of dish detergent in it. For some reason, the fleas jump right in there. Just make sure your pets cannot get into it. Oh shoot, I forgot to edit that slide again. So cannot get into it. You do not want your pets drinking dishwater. So make sure they can't get to it. You can actually make a flea collar if you want with 3 tablespoons of water, 4 to 5 drops of maybe cedarwood or Terra Shield essential oil, and then a drop or 2 of dish soap. Soak the collar in it, and then let it dry, and you can use it as a flea collar. Homeopathy can be quite helpful in flea infestation situations as well. And then flea comb 1 to 2 times a day, and make sure, same thing, dispose of the fleas in a way that they won't wake up. Alcohol works really well. And just so you guys know, you have access to this flea prevention and treatment handout that we have. It's a quick one-page quick guide with all those things that we just talked about, as well as a link to the homeopathic options from Joette. She's pretty awesome. So, all right, for mange, which is mites, body mites, and any species can get these. Mange often indicates immunosuppression of some sort. Sometimes you'll see it in like rescue dogs, or cats, and we see it in horses sometimes, that are just a little immunocompromised. They might have Cushing's disease or something like that going on. If you have an animal that has mange, you want to diffuse boosting oils like thyme or On Guard or lemongrass or DDR Prime. I really like DDR Prime. That can be helpful. But you're really going to want topical solutions for these guys. So cleaning the area really well with a natural shampoo. Be sure to rinse it really well. Allow it to dry before you apply any essential oils. Remember, we don't want to do wet animals and then essential oils because it can sting a little bit. But the essential oils really help with secondary infections. It also helps get rid of the mites and kills them. If this is too intense, you can use a gentle soothing shampoo followed by a coconut oil mask with a little bit of myrrh in it. So 5 to 6 drops per cup of solid, cold press, organic, unrefined coconut oil, and then just rub it all over the animal. Let it sit for 10 minutes or so. It's okay if they lick a little bit. You don't want them to lick like the whole thing off and get pancreatitis or something like that. But if they lick a little bit, it's totally fine. And then wash it off with a gentle shampoo. Another option is to do an apple cider vinegar rinse. That's a 1/4 cup of Bragg's apple cider vinegar per gallon of warm water, and just like do a rinse over them. This can be done after shampooing to help dry out any sores and repel any mites. Again, bugs hate apple cider vinegar. Except for fruit flies, really like it. Once the area is dry, you apply the oils every 8 to 12 hours and the oils that you want to apply, you can just use Tear Shield, but I also like to have some skin healing oils because a lot of times these guys have nasty skin. So in a 10 milliliter roller bottle, you'll do 5 drops Tear Shield, 3 drops Geranium, 3 drops Helichrysum, 3 drops lavender. It actually smells pretty good. Top it off with fractionated coconut oil, and then roll it on your hand or on your fingers and apply it gently using your hands, and then wash your hands afterwards, because we don't want you to get mange either. And then be sure to wash all the bedding in hot water as well, at the same time that you're bathing the dog or cat or other animal. For lice, there's 2 main groups of lice. There's sucking lice, which feed on blood, and then chewing or biting lice, which feed on the skin debris and surface secretions. They're kind of crawling around. Lice are very species specific, so transmission is usually through direct contact with another infested animal of the same species, sharing bedding through another collar, grooming tools, fomites, that sort of thing. Lice are not microscopic. You can actually see them. So like fleas, if you look, part the hair a little bit, you can actually see them crawling around. They can cause itching, pain, inflammation, and hair loss, very similar to a flea infestation, especially if an animal's has a flea allergy. And there's a lot of oils that help against lice: peppermint, oregano, thyme, basil, lavender, eucalyptus, catnip, lemon, citronella, lemon eucalyptus, lemongrass, rosemary, palo santo. All of these are very effective against lice. So there is a really cool article from the Equine Veterinary Journal in 2016 that showed a 5% tea tree. We wouldn't use that with dogs and cats, remember, and a 5% lavender suspension. These were on a group of donkeys that were heavily infested with equine lice. And so they actually did 2 applications. They did 1 application, waited 2 weeks, did another application, and this resulted in over 80% mortality in less than 2 hours after both applications. Even after the first one, they had a big mortality rate. So it killed most of the lice. It actually killed it. This is much more than just repelling. We can actually kill lice with some essential oils. I probably would add rosemary in there. Rosemary is really, really effective against lice as well. So that's how I would do. I would do lavender and rosemary for small animals. Use a flea comb, which can physically remove them from the animal, and then a coconut oil mask with any of the chosen oils from the list on the previous page, and we can apply that for 10 minutes, shampoo like normal. Can be reapplied daily or every other day until resolved. So they actually have a 3-week life cycle, and so we're going to wash our bedding pretty religiously, all the bedding in the house again, all at the same time, at least every couple of weeks. So for Giardia, and this also applies to Coccidia, and it's really for all species. Digestive enzymes are your best friend. So 3 to 4 times a day, digestive enzymes. Yes, you can use Terrazyme. Yes, you can use Terrazyme. But what about for this species, Dr. Rourke? Yes, you can use Terrazyme. Okay, you can use Terrazyme. Probiotics, you want to double up on your probiotics, and you sometimes triple up, depending on the animal and how sensitive they are. If they're doing good on doubled probiotics, add another one. Clean all the surfaces that are contaminated. This is hard because a lot of times these animals have diarrhea. You can do a DIY cleaner. If you do include basil and DDR, do add 40 drops of DDR and 10 drops of basil per 32 ounces of whatever DIY cleaner you use, vinegar and water, or you can use the On Guard cleaner concentrate, the Abode. I like to add in some DDR with those guys too, because we just want to kill the heck out of this stuff, because this is the big problem with Giardia and even Coccidia. These protozoans, they reinfest the animal because of hygiene, because it's diarrhea, it gets everywhere, and then it just kind of lives in the environment for a little while and then reinfests when they're sniffing around in the dirt. So the reinfestation is a really big problem. So if you can get them to go potty on hard surfaces and actually like clean those hard surfaces, that's ideal. Or in an area where they don't normally go potty, and then they're not going to go there for many months. Wash all the dishes, food and water in the dishwasher on the highest setting daily. Wash all bedding and toys in hot water with detergent. Steam clean the carpets, rugs, and furniture. Lots of baths, focusing on the hind end fur, because it kind of the diarrhea will get stuck in their fur, and so that's nasty. But then also the microscopic protozoans are also getting stuck in there, and reinfesting when they lick themselves and that sort of thing. Digestive support oils like Digest and Touch, cardamom, all of those guys are really helpful. Fennel, ginger. Rub that on the belly 2 to 4 times a day. Or Tamer, the kids' Tamer blend, you can use as well for small dogs. Add a tablespoon of colloidal silver per 2 cups of drinking water. I'm a big proponent of this during an infestation for sure. And then internally, you could also add thyme, lemongrass, oregano, DDR Prime, On Guard Plus. Any of those are fine as well. So for Giardia, there's a topical option you can have as well. So in a 15 milliliter bottle, add 10 drops DDR Prime or thyme, or both. 10 drops basil, 10 drops lavender, 3 drops of oregano optionally, and then top that off with fractionated coconut oil. And then just use 1 to 2 drops of this along the spine by petting once or twice a day. This really, really supports the immune system and helps the digestive system as well. Internally, again, you can give the DDR Prime or oil or soft gel, and or oregano, and or On Guard Plus. So some general overall recommendations for parasites. You're going to look for fleas, ticks, and coat abnormalities anytime you groom your animal or anytime you return home from areas that are likely to have higher numbers of parasites. So if you just went for a walk in the woods or some tall grass and you have ticks in your area or fleas, do a good once over when you get home. I know you're tired, you want to take off your shoes, you want to take a shower, but do a good once over. Do even flea comb your animal. They're going to be nice and tired after your walk. So it's a great time to do that. Do a good, nice little aroma touch massage, or you can add in some of these oils topically that we talked about today that are really great repelling oils. Get down to the skin, make sure you just do a good once over. It's so good to do that on a regular basis, in case you find anything new, you're looking for lumps and bumps. It's just basically a physical exam. And knowing what your animal normally looks like is going to help you in case something ever goes abnormal. Practice good personal hygiene, pick up your poop, do regular fecal exams on your animals, minimize exposure to high traffic pet areas, like dog parks and things like that, where it might be nasty, especially if there's an outbreak in your area. Consult your veterinarian if your animal shows any of the following symptoms: excessively scratching, chewing, licking his or her coat, persistently shaking his or her head, or scratching his or her ears, rubbing against objects due to being itchy, that's usually mange, or any of the symptoms discussed previously, or if you're concerned about it. If you do have a parasite infestation of some sort, internal or external, prompt removal of those and treatment lessens your animal's discomfort, decreases the chance of disease transmission to other animals, and also may reduce the degree of home infestation. Again, pick up your poop, clean up the feces regularly, and use your oils and keep their immune system healthy. Lisa Rees provided this amazing video for the Pet Summits workshop we had this past weekend, and I just wanted to share it with you guys too. She has a really great story, a very hard story of why she doesn't use traditional flea and tick topicals anymore or internally. And I'm just going to share it with you. It's about 10 minutes and then we'll be wrapping it up, guys.
Hi, I'm Lisa Rees and I'm a certified animal aromatherapist from Canine Aromatherapy, and I'm passionate about removing toxins from our dogs' environment and from what we use on them so that they have healthy, happier and longer lives. Today, I want to show you how you can make a flea and tick repellent spray for your dog that is natural, safe and effective. Let me tell you a bit about why I started to use it. I show and breed dogs. I have Rhodesian Ridgebacks, Great Danes and a Portuguese Podengo. As we all did a long time ago, I used to just do what I was told and use the regular flea and tick meds, spot-ons and the oral medications for my dogs. It was easy just to give them one of the oral ones once a month, and I did that religiously, as we should, until it didn't work anymore, until we had a bad reaction. So it's kind of like playing Russian roulette with your dog, because you never know when it's going to happen. I'd given it to all the ones that I'd had many times. Even my girl Rain had had it a few times before, but on this occasion I gave it to her, and unfortunately she had a really bad reaction. She started having seizures. It affected her brain, it affected her liver, and she ended up being on a really bad diet for a while to try and control the seizures. The vet did tests and multiple things and couldn't work out what had caused it, although we kind of knew, and they did admit to it in the end. But after a big struggle and 8 months of just a horrible life for my girl, we ended up losing her anyway, and it was tragic. I was devastated, and I couldn't believe that I could have potentially done that by giving her the flea and tick meds. So that started me on my mission to find something else to use. I'm in Australia. We have the paralysis tick here, and I do live in that area. We're on acres. We have bush out the back. We have cattle and goats. So we have a lot of ticks and things around, and I don't want my dogs getting sick, but I don't want to give them that toxic medication anymore. So I looked around. I got started with essential oils and started researching those, and actually discovered that some of them have the properties that will repel the ticks and fleas. So I've experimented over the years, and I've actually come up with a spray that I've now been using for about 7 or 8 years that does repel the ticks and fleas effectively. In all that time, the only time I found fleas on my dogs is when I've forgotten to use the spray for a little while, gotten a bit lax. And the one time I found a tick, it was not attached to my dog. It was just walking across her fur, and I just flicked it off. So to me, that's a huge success, considering I haven't had to give them any toxic chemicals. So let me show you how I make it, and then I will show you how I apply it to my dogs. So all you need is a spray bottle of some sort, just like this. I like to use a glass one because it is better for the oils, but you can use a plastic one. If it has a 1 or 2 in the recycle symbol at the bottom, then the plastic is okay. Now you need to make it up fairly regularly. You wouldn't make one up and leave it sitting on the shelf for a long time. I make one up this size so that I can just, continue to make it up. I have 4 dogs to treat with mine, so this is a good size. So we're going to start with the lavender. Lavender oil is great for repelling fleas. And I think in a study I've seen, it's actually been shown to possibly even have an effect on the flea eggs. So we're just going to do 10 drops of the lavender oil. This is for a 100 ml bottle. So, you know, you can up it or down it as much as you need to. Next, we're going to go for cedarwood, another oil that is well known for repelling fleas. People put cedar chips around their doors and in their yards to keep the fleas away. So cedarwood is a great one to keep those fleas at bay. So we're just going to do 10 drops of this one as well. It's very easy to make. I love that it's easy, it's cost effective, it's natural, it's not going to hurt my dogs, and it does the job. So next up, I'm going to go for turmeric. Now, turmeric I put in here because it is actually a great tick repellent. It has been shown to stop, that it can actually stop the ticks attaching to the animal. So another 10 drops of that, equal amounts of the lavender, cedarwood, and the turmeric. Okay. Next, I'm going to go for geranium. Now, geranium is one that I'm sure a lot of you may have heard is great for repelling ticks. It's been used for many, many years by many natural people. And it has a very strong smell, so I only use 5 drops of this one. It's a little bit less. Still has the same great benefits. So 5 drops of that one. And last but not least, some peppermint. Now, peppermint is great for both fleas and ticks and for other bugs, ants and things like that. So it's an all-round great just pest repellent for your dog. The other great thing is that the oils in here will actually are actually beneficial for your dog's coat and their skin. So not only are you repelling fleas and ticks, but you're also helping their skin and coat at the same time. Now, because we've added the peppermint, this is not going to be safe for cats. But if you wanted to use this on your cats, you can use the lavender, cedarwood, turmeric, and geranium, and just leave the peppermint out. Now, the next thing I do like to do is I like to add in just a small amount, a teaspoon or less, of some apple cider vinegar. Now, the one with the mother is the best one you can use, but any apple cider vinegar will do. Excuse me, something's falling off. So we're just going to put in a drop. Just a little, about a teaspoon, no more. Fleas really don't like this stuff. Okay, so now all we need to do is top that up with water. It's pretty easy. So we're going to top that up with water. Now, I'll just go to here because that's about where my 100 ml mark is. Okay. Screw the lid on. Now, you're going to need to shake this really well before each use, but that's ready to go. So let me get Frost, so I'll be straight back and I'll show you how to apply it. And we're back, and I've got Frost here with me. This is my little Portuguese Podengo, and he's going to be my model so I can show you how to apply the spray. Now, some dogs don't mind it being sprayed on, so you can just spritz it straight out, give it a good shake, and then just spritz it on them, and you're good to go. But dogs like Frost don't like the sound of the spray. So in that case, what I will do is Frosty, come on. I will just get him to stay here. He's just laying here, cheeky boy. I'm just going to spray a bit onto my hands and rub my hands together, and then I'm just going to apply it down his coat like this. Now, if you've got the longer haired dog, you can come back up through the hair like this to make sure it gets through it really nice.
Oops.
Nice and well. Just rub your fingers up through it. Frost, what are you doing? What are you doing? But yeah, you just spray it onto your hand. You do want to get it up onto this belly area, into these little nooks and crannies down here. Make sure you get it all in their paws and things like that. But you just make sure you get it everywhere. Keep spraying it on your hands or spray it directly onto them and give it a rub through. Now, bear with me. I'll be back in just one sec. Okay, so that's all I've got for you. I hope you're going to go out and make this and ditch those toxic chemicals and start using natural on your dogs. Like I said, I've been using it for around 7 or 8 years now with success, so I know that it works. If you want to add a little bit of neem oil in there, that is another option, but it works for me just as it is. Now, if you'd like more hints and tips like recipes like this, other things you can do with your dog that's more natural to get rid of the toxic chemicals, You can follow me over on Facebook or Instagram, or you can join my community group on Facebook, Low Tox Dogs. Just search it up and you'll find it. If your dog has a problem and you'd like a one-on-one consultation, I specialise in itchy dogs. So, just go onto my website. That's caninearomatherapy.com, and you'll find everything you need on there. Go natural. Using those other things is like playing Russian roulette with your dog's life. This is so much better. Don't forget, I have a free download that has the recipe for this, so you have it on hand, and also a dog shampoo for you as well, with the cedarwood and lavender, so it can help remove fleas and ticks as well. So give it a try. Have a great day.
Awesome. So I can post that in the group as well. Her little giveaway. Let me double check with her, make sure that was more for the giveaway was for the workshop, but I don't think she'll mind if I share her recipe. So what's coming up? So that was such a great story of why we choose natural for our animals, and unfortunately, I really hope you guys don't have to go through a story like that to switch to natural for a lot of this stuff. But we can do so many things for our animals that are natural. But so what's coming up for you guys in the membership here is, first I want you to mark your calendars, because the next member exclusive webinar is June 23rd, next month at 6 p.m. And we're going to be talking about new pet, new problems. So we're going to be, or new pet, no problems. So we're going to be talking about kind of the things that someone deals with when bringing a new pet into the home, and all of the things that can go wrong, and all the things that we can do naturally to help prevent that and help the transition go as smooth as possible. I think it'll be a really fun one, some new content there. And so definitely check that out. Mark your calendars now, June 23rd, it's 6 p.m. So it's an hour before we started on this one. I believe that is a Friday. July 24th this summer, we have an animal aromatherapy specialist certification, and that one is filling up fast. So if you want to get certified in animal aromatherapy like Lisa did, be sure to register today so that you can get certified. It's a 6-week long course. If you want to learn more about that, ask anybody in the group that has taken the course. There's several of my students and alumni in there, and I'm sure some of them are on tonight, and you guys can you can ask each other. You don't have to always come to me. Of course, I'm going to be like, yes, it's amazing, but I hear good things. So you can actually go to that website and learn more about it as well. We have some testimonies listed there as well as kind of like what to expect and how much time it takes and that sort of thing over at essentialoilvet.com/animal aromatherapy. And then if you missed the Essential Oils for Pets workshop with Pet Summits, it was incredible. The replays are available if you missed it. It's about probably about like 9 hours worth of training, but it is very comprehensive and a really good foundation if you're using essential oils in your home with your pets. If you have an essential oil business or anything like that, go ahead and grab those while they're still at the same price as the workshop, which is $149. You can actually grab those right away over at essentialoilvet.com/workshop. And then, of course, don't forget, every Sunday at 6 p.m. Central, we have a live Q&A with me on Zoom. You can come live and ask your question, or you can ask it under the Ask the EO Vet post in the Facebook group, or the Ask the EO Vet post in the membership portal. So lots of different places you can get your questions answered by me. Or you can just post it in the Facebook group, and one of your fellow members can answer it in there. I usually don't see those ones though. So if you want me to specifically address it, please ask in one of those places if you're new. All right, we do have one more giveaway. I'd really want to give this one away to a large animal person. So if you have goats or horses or cattle, or any of those kind of fun things, let me know if you're on live. and you want this, we're giving away 4 essential oils for this one. So we have citronella, which we talked about, really good repelling oil, very good for mosquitoes and flies. Tea tree, which is we're not going to do for small animals, but great for horses. Lemon eucalyptus, that lemon eucalyptus and citronella is in the top running for my fly spray recipe right now. And then peppermint, which a lot of animals love. So who would like these 4 oils? If we have any large animal people in here, let me know, and Haley will pick someone. Let me know in the chat if that's you, and we will find somebody. We have a winner. It is Shannon Hare. So Shannon, you are the winner. Send me, congratulations. Send me your mailing address via email. So send me an email with your mailing address, and I will get those mailed out to you guys. So congratulations. And I'll stick around for just about 5 minutes or so, 4 or 5 minutes, to answer any questions if anybody has any questions. All right. The Shannon, all the bonuses are with the replay right now. Yes, for the Pet Summits one. So yes, they are. So definitely check that out. All the bonuses are in there as well. What was your biggest takeaway, you guys? Put it in the chat. And the topical application for flea and tick spray, the one that Lisa did, she applies once or twice a week. Just like the one I did. And lots of good chat. Wow, good comments in the chat, you guys. I love it. Good. Oh, Regine uses deep blue on her bug bites. That's so cool. I never thought about that one. That's a good one. It's got some helichrysum in there. I love it. Awesome. All right. Okay. I don't see any questions unless I'm missing it. So let me know in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you guys think of this this particular member webinar? Was it good, average, bad? Jasmine, go ahead and post your question in the chat if you have a question. I didn't see it. Oh, Heidi says, should we avoid peppermint in the mixture if we have a cat in the house? Is it okay if it's on the dog, if the dogs are near the cat? Totally okay if the dogs are near the cat. And honestly, at that dilution, you can totally use that, like just 5 drops in 100 milliliters. That would be fine for cats as well. So Regine, as far as chickens, definitely check out the chicken nutrition webinar that's posted in the group, because we talk a little bit about that. What I really like to do for chickens is just oregano and thyme and or On Guard internally all the time, and it's really preventative, so it's quite good. And you can give any of those herbs that are really good as well. Jasmine, if a dog with Lyme has seizures, would rosemary affect that too? Yes. So rosemary is one of the oils we do not use with seizure dogs. So you would not use that one with a dog that has seizures because of Lyme's. Yeah. You would use one of the other oils instead. Good question. It's okay. It's okay. All right. I think that's it. And we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for sticking around, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this month's webinar, and I hope you stick around for next month. If you are new and you are on the 1-month option, be sure to go back and click auto renew to renew for next month and to be a part of next month's webinar. I love doing these things for you guys. All right, guys. I love you guys, and I will see you on Sunday for a normal Q&A. Bye.